This picture is one that I've remembered for a very long time, because I was so shocked by Mrs. Ditchfield's situation when I found her. She went down to the cellar and showed me the room that she lived in, and you can see her bed is in the corner. She shares the bed with her daughter, teenage daughter. Washing hanging up, no natural light at all, just one naked light bulb. And you can see the table with a loaf of bread, 3 mugs and a teapot. And I just could not believe that she was living in this condition. This woman in Brixton, the kitchen was literally on the staircase. Now, can you imagine a worse place for it? I mean, you can see when the window is open, it's used as a shelf for the kettle and other things. The sink is in the corner and the cooker is here. And that is literally what that woman has to contend with. And 3 children. And then this picture over here, the woman is cooking on an open fire because the gas and electricity is cut off. I very, very rarely would tell people where to go or how to stand. I would just allow them to go through their normal process. And in this case, Mrs. Milne was putting her children to bed. And this is the very first picture I took for shelter. So I took it at the end of 1968. And it was winter time. She lived in these terribly inadequate conditions. The boys slept on a bed, toe to toe, no mattress. They slept on a sort of cushion covered in a blanket, and it was bitterly cold outside. They had no heating in the room. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that it must be much more difficult for you today to take photographs in these situations, because when I was doing it, there was clear, visible evidence of material poverty. The housing conditions were dramatically poor, whereas the situation that you're photographing in is different, isn't it? I mean, the crisis is less visibly obvious. So how do you go about it?
I think that's true. I mean, often I'm photographing hostels and B&Bs.
Right.
Families, often women and children.
Yeah.
They're going about their daily life in those.
Okay.
Sometimes it is visible that the actual, place is crumbling or damp or, unsuitable. Often very cramped situations.
Yeah.
So you can make that visual. You can tell that story in a photograph. But yes, you're right. It is more hidden. There aren't huge slums like
No.
When you were making this work. These families are left in hostels and bed and breakfasts for it can be years. They're just forgotten about.
Really.
I've photographed families who've been years in bed and breakfast. This was the living room with everything they possessed, and of course this little girl can't get access to her toys because they're all boxed up. And,
No.
And then every day is it's a waiting game.
Yeah.
But this can drag on kind of for months, and months turn into years. And this woman, again, had a very complicated sort of story, but she was sleeping like this across chairs so that, because the bedroom was so damp, it was uninhabitable. So she chose to sleep like this.
I don't believe it.
And obviously cooking in this kitchen is, this is not a first world situation, is it? You think, what on earth is somebody living in London like that for? And somebody who's working as well, trying to, trying to sort of, so that's the exterior.
Oh gosh, that's amazing.
And this woman was evicted, came back and literally the door was locked and she couldn't get in and get her belongings. And she had no choice but to sort of sleep on buses.